Well, good morning, folks. Um, this is um, Chaos or Intentionality Take Two. Um, I apologize for the lack of sound. It took me a little while to figure it out. I do this by scheduling. Um, Basically, I schedule a Zoom meeting. I don't invite anybody but myself, but I use Zoom because Zoom has uh, the technology built in where you can actually record, what's going on in the meeting. So even though it's just a meeting of one, by hitting record, then I can teach the lesson through Zoom technology. It downloads it to the computer, and then I upload that to YouTube. Well, they did do an update to Zoom here recently, and I downloaded the update, and it does work differently. Used to, I would have to check a little box, share computer sound or something, and that's not there anymore. But anyway, because it works differently, I thought that was the issue. It's not. It wasn't the issue. Evidently, I had forgotten that about 2 or 3 weeks ago on my own computer. I had set the internal microphone to not pick up sound because of a project I was working on. It was I forget why. It was recording sound onto a video I didn't want. So I had turned my microphone, my computer's internal microphone off. So I apologize for all of that, and I apologize for the fact you guys are probably going to be getting this a day late. But anyway, I'm going to teach this lesson all over again now, because I was pantomiming it before, evidently, which means I'm going to take that other one down as well. But anyway, so let me tell you our text, and then I'll make a couple of announcements. Our text is Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14. Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14. Okay, as far as announcements go, don't forget this coming weekend, we do have our Christmas holiday party, finally, despite the fact that it's very late. We were gone, and then weather and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So we are having it this coming weekend. We'll have our Sunday morning service, and then we'll have our holiday party, including finger foods and sandwiches and drinks, Yankee swap, and some games. So we're going to have a good time. I'm looking forward to spending the day with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your adventures over the holidays. I know Sister Teresa, I believe, did some traveling, as did we. So we definitely will have some stories to share. I've got a text, our Facebook message, I guess, from Donnie, Sister Lane. He communicated and showed me a hat that Paula had gotten him, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer hat. So I've already been hearing some interesting stories and tales, but we're going to have a good time. That's this coming Sunday. Okay, so without any more delay, let's read our text. Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14 says, "Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead, I press toward the goal for the prize of the high calling or upward call of God in Christ Jesus." So let me put that in our jargon. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself to have reached the goal. I don't consider myself to be done and finished and the battle to be over. But this is the thing that I do. By forgetting those things which are behind, all the mistakes, all the regrets, everything that's come before, and keeping my eye reaching ahead and reaching for those things, that are the next parts of the process. By doing that, I am pushing toward the ultimate goal of the high calling of God. So today's lesson, I think I mentioned it when I first started this recording. This is take 2, but the title is Chaos versus Intentionality. All right, let's pray. God, we love you. We ask you to bless this message and the sermon. Let us learn from it. Also, God, give us a week. Let us stay safe and stay warm and stay healthy. And let us come back together next week and enjoy a wonderful time together. In Jesus' name, amen. When I was young, one of the very first jobs, even before I ever had a regular punch time card job that I punched in the clock for, which that job was actually grocery, bag boy and stocker. But one of the jobs I did early on, even before that, is I did a little bit of construction. And some of the first examples of that was I did some roofing. Excuse me. And then after I moved to Texas and was a young minister in training, as a extra job to support me and later on me and Janice, I worked construction. I worked residential construction with a small subcontractor building houses. And then I also worked commercial construction with a big contractor in Dallas, Fort Worth, where we did commercial jobs. And so I got to see quite a bit of different variety of things. And one of the things I remember was when I first stepped onto one of these job sites, is it was all a little bit mesmerizing and chaotic to me. It looked chaotic to me. There were holes and forms and piles of dirt and stacks of wood and metal I-beams and rolls of giant spools of wiring and stacks of roofing and bundles of fiberglass insulation and sacks of concrete and giant large saws and jackhammers and hoses and lines and cords and tractors and trailers and trucks and men moving around engaged in different activities, wearing hard hats but different uniforms and wielding different tools. And to someone like me, who was a raw grunt, this was a giant swirling pandemonium. But I soon came to realize that while it looked like pandemonium to me, it was in fact very, very ordered. There was an order to it. And the reason there was an order to it all these hundreds of moving parts, is because there was a plan. There was a single clear plan. And within that plan, there were smaller parts of the plan or intermediate goals to get to the ultimate plan, to pull off the ultimate plan. This plan had steps. These steps dictated when certain materials would be used, how much of the materials would be used, how the materials would be used. This plan dictated the roles of the various workers, whether they were the concrete foundation guys, or whether they were the plumbers or the electricians or the framers or the fine detail carpenters or the painters or the glazers or the roofers, the welders. I mean, just a wide variety of all these roles. The plan told all of them what to do, when to do it, where to do it. Nobody on that job site was just reacting. Nobody on that job site was just doing their own thing the way they thought it ought to be done. They were all acting very, very intentionally. And the result was that the building came together. Now, I want you to imagine that same job site. And imagine that instead of people acting very intentionally with a plan, with steps in mind, that they were either reacting to each other in a very momentary heat of the moment, or they were just doing their own thing. Carpenters, they're just stacking boards and driving nails wherever they want to nail, and concrete workers pouring wherever, whenever, because the surveyors are dragging their feet and they're tired of waiting. The electricians mounting boxes and junctions and running conduit and wire, just around and through studs that weren't even attached yet because the carpenters and the sheetrock guys weren't communicating. So now that's chaos, right? That's pandemonium. Now, what if we applied to this mess of a job site some of the sentiments and rationalizations that we apply to areas of our own lives that are a little bit chaotic, that they're a little bit of a mess, where we aren't really seeming to build with a clear purpose? What if we applied to that job site? Let's see if those rationalizations and sentiments would work for that job site. One of the things we like to say is, yeah, but this is I really believe in this. I have a passion for this. I really care about this a lot. If we apply that to the job site, what if these construction workers, what if that carpenter who is, man, he is piling boards and he's driving nails, and he's doing it with gusto. He's passionate about it. He loves driving nails. He loves, making things, stacking boards and putting it together in structures. He just believes it and loves it. Is his level of passion going to make that pile of boards nailed together? Is that going to make it a building? Maybe his level of passion is even going to make it worse, because he's going to do it with such gusto that he's going to pile a lot of boards and waste a lot of materials and a lot of nails because he's so passionate about it. Maybe he's going to have a hard time hearing anyone who's trying to slow him down as that air gun's driving those nails, because he's passionate about it. It's not going to make a good difference. It might make a bad difference, but I don't think that his level of passion is going to make that any more a building than if he wasn't passionate about it doing that. Oh, but what about this one? But his heart's in the right place. He has good intentions. He really does want what's best. He really does care that this building goes up. Those concrete workers that are pouring concrete, they really do care about their job, and they want this to be right. And you think that's going to make that slab any more usable? Probably not. What about if we look at the quality of the material? Sometimes when people are caught up in a situation where it really is a mess, one of the things they can use to excuse the mess of the problem, the mess itself, is they'll focus on little bright spots, like having really good materials to work with and really good tools to work with, and people are really investing in this. Look at what this person gave us. Look how we were blessed with this. See, doesn't that prove that this is worthwhile, that something good is going on here because we have good materials? Do you think on that job site, even if they went with the best lumber and the highest grade steel and the best glass, do you think it's going to make that any more a building? Probably not. Please excuse my heat. It's cold outside, so the baseboard heat is doing that tink 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 thing that it does. Do you think it's going to matter if that if that carpenter has the best tools, that air gun that's driving those nails, that they're the best nails and the best air gun you can buy, driven by the best air compressor money can buy? No, that's not going to matter. Having great slick materials and nice tools and cool features and beautiful screens and the best tech, and if there's no plan, if it's still chaos at the end, you're still not making a building. Well, what about the quality of the workers? What if the workers themselves are very intelligent? They're very smart. They have all these great qualifications. What if they're the best carpenters in the world? What if they're the best electricians in the world, the best welders in the world? These are some of the best. I mean, these guys are skilled. And yet, do you think in that chaotic job site with everybody doing their own thing or reacting to the other person, you think that's going to make a building go up just because they're the best? What if they're good men? They're good people. The quality of their character. Look at who's on our side. Look at who's working with us. Look who's coming along for the ride, man. We've got something here. Look at these people. We're going to be okay, man. Is that going to make a building, or is it still going to be a mess at the end? What about the righteousness, the goodness of the goal or the cause of the thing they're building? That's another thing. Oh, this is a worthwhile thing we're doing here. Get on board, people. Let's believe in it. Let's buy into it, because this is matters. This is a hugely important cause. Do you think it matters whether or not they're building a casino or a hospital if the way that they're doing it is this chaotic, do your own thing, shoot a nail anywhere you want, or react to the other guy? And do you think it's going to matter whether they're building a casino or a hospital? No, because it's in the end, it's not going to be either one anyway. It's just going to be a big pile of rubble. I have a question for 2022 for you. This year, are you going to build, or are you just going to make a mess? Will you choose careful intentionality or reactive chaos? Now, whatever you choose, I want you to know there's going to be mistakes. Proverbs 24:16 says, "For the righteous falls 7 times and rises again, but the wicked stumble in times of calamity." You're going to make mistakes. The men on that job site that were the first job site that was orderly and everyone had the plan, and they made mistakes. They make mistakes. I remember making mistakes, even though I was supposed to know what I was doing. Sometimes I got it wrong. Sometimes I read the plans wrong. Sometimes I heard the instructions wrong. Sometimes I just mismeasured and I cut wrong. But you're going to make mistakes either way. I say that even when you make mistakes, the workman who's building according to a plan is still in better shape than the person who's just reacting and doing their own thing and making a mess. If you're making a mess, you're not able to tell what's a mistake and what's not, because it's all a big pile of mistakes. You're not able to clearly evaluate. You're not able to clearly measure. You have no standard by which to tell the mistakes. In fact, I would go a step further and say the person who's doing their own thing, who is just reacting and in the moment making decisions, and they just so full of their own wisdom and ideas and knowledge that they know what's best, and they're not seeing the bigger picture. They can't see the bigger picture. They think they've got the big picture, but it's actually just their own picture. I say not only are they incapable of seeing the mistakes in the mess because of the general chaos of everything, but I think they're also probably harder to talk to. They have a harder time listening to others. I shared something with my mom, talking to her just this morning, in fact. I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but there's two I'm not sure if they were sociologists or psychologists. I don't know what kind of scientists they were, but they did a study, and their last names were Dunning, Dunning, and Kruger. I think it's Krueger. I may be wrong about Kruger. But they did a study on human behavior, and they had become interested in the phenomenon of people who had very, very limited knowledge of something, almost no expertise, very low competence, and yet, even though they had low knowledge, low expertise, low experience, low competence, they had really, really high confidence. They really believed. They were emphatic that they knew what they were talking about. And they were interested in, why is this? Why do people that sometimes that know the least about something seem to have the most to say about it? When I mentioned that's what they were measuring and what they were studying to my mom, she started laughing out loud. And so they got hundreds, at least hundreds. I don't forget how many were in the study, but they got a lot of people. Just, good studies, measure a lot of different data points. And so they got a lot of people. It was, the study itself was published and you know, made official and subject to peer review, all the different steps in the process that a good study has to go through to be legitimate. They went through all those steps to make sure they were dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's to make sure their results were you know, least biased, and all the things that go into making a good quality study. They did. And all these hundreds of participants, they asked them a series of questions about a variety of topics, and they started charting their responses on a graph. And this graph measured two things. The y-axis, the up and down axis, measured how much confidence they had. The x-axis, running this way, measured how much actual knowledge and experience and expertise they had. And that's measurable, right? You can measure expertise. How many years have you spent working with this? How many hours of study? Do you have any have you had any licensing or expertise or degrees or you know, what have you done to actually study and learn about this topic and work in the field? And then confidence, well, of course, you measure on the kinds of words they use, how much they affirm what their opinion is to be true, right? So they begin to chart their answers. And the result was, and I wish, I didn't know I was going to be sharing this in the lesson today, but I wish I had a graph for you. But what they got, and I want you to imagine, hopefully you can see my hand. What they got was a graph that looked like this. The very first part is it juts way up here. All right. So this really steep, giant tick up, high on the confidence axis, the y-axis. They really were confident. And then it drops way down, not all the way to the bottom, pretty close to the bottom, way down. And then slowly, as they gain more and more and more knowledge, it slowly ticks back up. But it never gets quite as high as that early giant peak, that mountain, that steep mountain, that was very low knowledge, right? This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And here's what it basically means. The people who have the least amount of knowledge about a topic, the least amount of expertise, are the most confident in their opinion about it. Now, I want you to let that sink in for a minute. The people who have the least amount of knowledge, they've done the least amount of hours of study, they've worked the least amount of time in a field, those people are the most confident about the topic. They know the least, but they have the most to say. They say it the loudest. They learn just a little bit of stuff, and all of a sudden they've got all the answers. Their opinion matters. You know, everyone else is dumber than they are, even though they actually learn the least. They just got a little bit, boom, and they're way up here. But if they can get off that peak, it's really hard to get off that peak. It's really hard to climb down because you can't be told anything. Your opinion is louder in your head than all the knowledge of the other knowledge that you may learn, than all the knowledgeable sources that you could glean from. Your opinion is louder in your head than they are. And so you live here on top of this mountain. And by the way, this is colloquially, man, how do you say that as an adverb? Colloquially known as Mount Stupid. You have a hard time listening to anybody because you know that you know that you know that you know. By the way, people who live on top of Mount Stupid say things, they say things like that. I know that I know that. What are you doing? You're propping yourself up by saying something over and over again, by saying words over and over again. Words, saying something over again, telling yourself you know something over again isn't the same as actually knowing something. That's not real knowledge. That's not real study. That's not real expertise. That's not real experience. That's just you shoring yourself up with very positive words. People at the top of Mount Stupid say those sort of things. Here's another example of what people at the top of Mount Stupid say. I don't believe it. I know it. Your level of knowledge has nothing to do with how emphatic you are. Your level of knowledge has to do with how much time you spent studying and investigating and working with the topic. Real experience, real knowledge, real accumulation of data, that's knowledge. Saying I know instead of believe, that doesn't mean anything. It just means you feel strongly. It means you're probably the top of Mount Stupid. But then when they finally, if someone can get through to them, if they can somehow open up their ears up, if they finally reason themselves into a place where they can hear, in spite of the fact they think they already know, and then they actually start learning again, all of a sudden, it's a steep fall down. Their confidence goes down. Their knowledge is moving up because they're moving to the right on the x-axis, but their confidence is falling down because all of a sudden they come face to face with how wrong they've been, how arrogant. You up here saying those kind of things? It's arrogance. It's not knowledge. It's not confidence. It's confidence, but it's also arrogance. They come face to face with just how much of a jerk they've been, how dismissive they've been to what everyone else who's been trying to talk to them. They come face to face with just how smug and awful they've been. And their confidence falls way down. And suddenly they find themselves, instead of at arrogant top of Mount Stupid, down here at the humility of realizing that they're still ignorant, that they still have to learn. Now they're learning. They know more than they did at top of Mount Stupid because they're moving to the right. But now they've been humbled by their own realization and looking back at how they were acting. They're looking up and saying, oh my God, I was horrible up there. Man, how could I say those? How could I act like I knew so much and I knew so little? Now, but if they continue to learn and continue to move to the right, suddenly that curve turns and they start slowly but surely climbing higher and higher and higher on the confidence axis again. They go up, and then they slowly start moving up. They don't jump up anymore. They've learned that lesson. Don't get smug and overblown and think you know all the answers anymore. But they climb slowly, gaining more and more confidence. Now, here's the beauty of the end point of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Is this point over here is never as high as Mount Stupid. Now, you may think, oh my God, that's awful. I never get as confident as I was back then. No, you don't. But that's good. That means you never get as arrogant as you were over here. You always have some humility mixed in. You've internalized that realization that there's always more to learn, that I can't have the last word on anything because I am one person and I've only seen my little narrow window of the world and I always have more to learn. You never get up here where you're saying dumb things like, I don't believe I know. I know that I know. I know. You can't tell me. You never say stuff like that again. You don't want to ever say stuff like that again because that's not real knowledge. That's speech and posturing, pretending to be knowledge. Okay. So you never get back up there again. And that's good. Now, people over here on this side, they can see people over here on this side who have lots of knowledge that they're supporting their confidence level on, rather than a lot of pronouncements about, I know. And they can accuse them of being arrogant. That's not arrogance. That's confidence built on actual expertise and knowledge. This is arrogance. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I feel that people who are so full of their own ideas about ways of doing things that they're just working away on the job site, driving nails any old which way, and they're building the mess, they're living on top of Mount Stupid and the Dunning-Kruger effect. They're saying, I know that, I know this is the way this is supposed to look. This is the way this is the way you frame this particular kind of joist. This is the way this is the right angle for this kind of roof. This is the best angle. And they're just going away based on the little bit of knowledge they have, thinking they've got the be all end all. Give me just a second, guys. I don't know, for some reason my computer started trying to do something here. All right. So it's really hard if you're caught at that place where you're just working away. It's really hard to come down off of it, but you've got to do it. You've got to find your way back to humility again, and to realizing you're a part. You've got to be a part of the plan, not just full of your own opinion. It's 2022, the beginning of a brand new year. Are you going to build or make a mess? Are you going to make this about purposeful, careful, intentional action, or chaos and making a mess? If you're building when you make a mistake, your mistakes are going to be clearer. You'll be able to see them. You'll have all these other parts of the plan that have been executed well to measure against and see how it doesn't line up. You can find it. When you've got a plan, when you make a mistake, suddenly it's a learning opportunity instead of just another part of the blurry mess of blunders that you keep repeating over and over again. All right. I love you today. Remember, we're doing sandwiches and finger food. And we're going to be doing Yankee swap. And we'll have snacks, we'll have desserts. So I'm looking forward to seeing you this coming Sunday. I love you. Have a wonderful week. Stay warm. It's going to be very cold this week. It was -4, I think, this morning. So I think it's supposed to get down to -11 Monday night. So just stay warm, stay safe, and we will see you on Sunday. Bye.